My name is Tim Swanson. I'm fortunate to be the founder of Inherent L3C, an organization fundamentally driven by this idea of better housing for more people, for more communities. We're standing on the west side of Chicago in North Lawndale in our manufacturing facility, the first of its kind, building high-performance all-electric smart homes. It's not just, though, about those homes, but on a rainy day like today, it means guaranteed work for our workforce. We're blessed to have an amazing workforce from the west and south sides of Chicago, many of which this is their first trade job, many of which this is their first W-2. And so being able to have a place like this, where they come every single day, rain or shine, and build better housing, it's a blessing for us as an organization and a city that is in such desperate need for housing that average, everyday, ordinary Chicagoans can afford. So from this location on the west side, we're building housing throughout the city of Chicago. We're in conversations with other cities in the region and across the country about what it looks like to do something better, to build better housing, to build better home ownership, and this broad idea of economic stabilization in so many communities that are just full of working class Americans struggling to own a home. So I love what we get to do here and talk about it, and I'd love to show you what that looks like in practice as we have 3 homes in different stages just right behind me. So if you want to come this way, I'll show you. Like I was mentioning before, we're starting to see some of the action in progress. Our crew is all off to lunch right now. They're just going to be showing up again. But behind me are homes in different stages of completion. This one we just started a few weeks back. As you can see, it's already been inspected. Drywall and paint is done. The cabinets just got delivered. They're going to be installed later on today. The crew's getting ready to install the windows on the house as well, which is really exciting. And behind me is a home that's about a week and a half into progress. So this is getting ready for rough inspection. You see it lifted up so that our trade partners can work underneath it. The inspectors can see both in the home and underneath the home. And it's just this real-time action. Our space is in flux as well. Just 1 month ago, we expanded our footprint, added more capacity to build more housing. So we're able to produce about 4,500 square feet of housing at any given time, starting 3 new homes every single month. That's scaling up to produce approximately 25 homes this year. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be scaling again in our new facility, going from what's called cellular production, where the modules stay in one place and we do all the work in one spot, to in our phase 2 building line style production, where we can produce 12 houses at a time much more efficiently, bring more people into the trades, more opportunities for home ownership, so that we can continue to investing in payroll in neighborhoods that desperately need it, invest in small businesses, and then at the same time, bring the cost of housing down. It's so important as we build this kind of housing that it's the best possible house, right? So what that actually means is designing a house that is generational in its nature, not something that is going to fall apart after 5 to 10 years, but something that is truly lasting. So every decision we make, from the flooring that we put in, to the roofs that we put on, from the cabinets that we install, to wrapping these homes in insanely high quality materials, using masonry on our facades so that they represent true high quality ownership that will last generations and generations. And what we've chosen, especially because we're doing this modularly, a lot of the work, when this gets ready to go out the door next week, the windows are going to be on, the front door is going to be in, light fixtures are going to be hung, everything on the inside of it is going to be fully complete. All we have left when we get to site with that foundation that's waiting for us is to set the home. That takes just about 4 hours. And then over the next 2 weeks, wrap it in its final skin, that final protective layer. That's why we decided to use a thin tech style approach too. We knew that masonry was important. We knew that we had to have a high quality material that was contextual to the fabric of Chicago, beautiful brick homes and gray stones. We needed to reflect that fabric in the homes that we build. The thin tech works really well for us. As a high performance home, we use a rain screen facade to make certain that we have a breathable solution. And the thin tech allowed us to use that masonry without the weight of that masonry. What it also meant, from every decision that we make, reducing the overall environmental footprint of what we do. So even with that product, using a smaller piece to get the same look reduces the carbon footprint. The foundations that we use reduce that carbon footprint even more. From soup to nuts, this has to be a home that lives for generations, that a family can grow in and expand in and pass on to generation, and to rebuild neighborhoods with high quality housing, not cheap housing, not affordable housing, but housing that people can afford, and housing that will last. So as we were talking about before, it's really fun to see what these homes look like in progress. The living room that I'm standing in right now actually didn't look like any of this just 3 weeks ago. Nothing was here. So over the couple weeks that it takes to get a rough assembly, we work with the city of Chicago. They come in and they inspect the home here, and then we do the final finishing before it goes out the door. So what you see behind me is the kitchen cabinets that just arrived. Our crew is going to be installing them right when they get back from lunch so that that kitchen is done and ready to go. The floors that we already put in here are some of the best floors that we can get. We want to make certain that everything we do is around this idea of transforming lives, communities, and generations through homeownership. We know that to build better homes, homes that last, we have to use the best materials possible. Everything about this home is in service to that family. These are all electric high-performance homes, homes that have massively reduced utility bills. If you don't have to pay as much for utilities, you have more to support your family, to grow and to prosper. That's important for us. These homes have to weather generations, have multiple generations living together. That's why all of our homes are fully accessible on the ground floor, so that if grandma or grandpa moves in with you, or you need more accommodations, the home is designed for that. The cabinets that we get, these are high quality, high end cabinets. We know that they have to last generations. The quartz countertops, the tile that we do in the bathroom, everything goes down to the best home possible. And when we deliver it, when it rolls out this facility on a day like today where it rained all morning, these have never gotten wet. In just a week's time, windows will be between you and I. We'll have this home fully finished. The front door is going to be there. And as we build more and more and it rolls out the door, it gets to our sites where in a matter of 3 or 4 hours, the entire home is set on its foundation. And a week later, beautiful masonry wraps the house. Hardy board wraps the back side of it. We use high quality materials in a rain screen fashion so that that house can actually be that home. It's the best thing we've ever built. They far exceed Chicago Energy Code. They far exceed LEED standards. We know that it's not in service to those certifications, but again, in service to a family and a family budget. So that working class Chicagoans, working class Americans can own their home. They can realize that wealth creation that happens through the stability of ownership. And we stabilize more and more communities across the city and across this country. Right, this whole thing is about rebuilding a middle class. It's about giving access to home ownership, stabilizing neighborhoods, house by house, home by home, block by block. We get so excited about what we get to produce in here, but that's half the story. The bigger story is, what does it look like when we transform vacant lots into thriving home ownership? Everything that we do is in service to that, which means from the counseling that we do with our families ahead of buying a home, helping them select the finishes for their home, the exact masonry or light fixtures that go into their home, letting them watch that land in a community maybe they grew up in, and then taking ownership of it. That whole story is what's important to us. And when we celebrate it, when we do groundbreakings, we don't do groundbreakings in service to ourselves or in service to our political partners. We do groundbreakings in service to the neighborhoods that we do. Our very first groundbreaking was a block party and a resource fair right in front of an elementary school. We shut the street down. We had the Jesse White tumblers, a bouncy house, people barbecuing. But we also had HUD counseling agencies there, lenders there to help work on credit repair, resources, real resources to help a community thrive and rebuild itself. And while we were blessed to have our Secretary of State, Jesse White, there and our alderman there, we were also blessed to have the local block club president who had been there for 47 years, who moved into a thriving neighborhood that saw house by house get torn down and is now seeing house by house being rebuilt by representatives of that neighborhood and this entire west side of Chicago. When we can bring the best of us to the most of us, that's when we see us all thriving. What is the saying? The rising tide lifts all boats. That's what this work is about. That's what we get to do every single day with our partners, our community residents, our trade skills, our supply chain, to build the best thing possible and give it to the most that we can make.